Elizabeth I rarely took baths. She firmly believed that water spread sickness. To her, washing was dangerous. She once declared she only bathed once a month. Think about that. An entire month in Tudor England with heavy gowns, crowded banquets, smoky rooms, and no deodorant. Her massive dresses had multiple layers. Undergarments, petticoats, corsets, farthingales, and thick velvet. Each layer trapped sweat. The palace rooms were often stifling hot with braziers and torches burning. And Elizabeth was constantly surrounded by courtiers, diplomats, and servants. Yet instead of bathing, she relied on perfumes, scented oils, and rose water to mask the odor. But perfume doesn't remove sweat, it mixes with it. Visitors to her chambers often noted the stale, sour smell clinging to the queen and her clothes. Imagine trying to negotiate with Europe's most powerful woman while gagging at the odor radiating from her throne. 9. Her teeth were black and rotting. Elizabeth was obsessed with sugar, which was rare and expensive in Tudor England. While ordinary peasants might never taste it in their lives, Elizabeth stuffed herself daily with candied violets, sugar-dusted fruits, honey cakes, marmalades, and sweetmeats. She even drank sugar-sweetened wine. But dentistry barely existed. Toothbrushes weren't common, and toothpaste was made of crushed brick or ashes. By her 40s, Elizabeth's teeth had turned jet black. Cavities ate away at her gums. Her mouth constantly ached with abscesses and infections. Ambassadors described her breath as rank and offensive. One wrote that her words are sweet, but her mouth is not. Foreign dignitaries were shocked at the sight of her blackened teeth. But because Elizabeth was the queen, black teeth bizarrely became a trend among nobles. Wealthy ladies deliberately blackened their own teeth to look fashionable, as if tooth decay was a symbol of high status. 8. She caked her face with poison. Elizabeth's famous pale skin was not natural beauty. It was a deadly mask of poison. She painted her face with Venetian ceruse, a cosmetic made from white lead and vinegar. Every time she applied it, the toxic paste seeped into her skin, eating it alive. At first, it gave her a smooth porcelain glow. But as the years passed, her skin began to blister and crack. The ceruse destroyed her pores, making her face rough, scaly, and covered in sores. To hide the damage, she simply added more layers of lead paint. It became a vicious cycle. The more her face rotted, the more makeup she wore. She even mixed egg whites and powdered borax into the paste to create a glossy effect. But this made her skin tighten so severely that her face looked frozen, like a living death mask. By her later years, she wasn't just wearing makeup. She was literally entombed in it. 7. Her wig collection hid lice. As the lead makeup destroyed her skin, it also caused her natural hair to fall out. By middle age, Elizabeth was balding. Her once bright red hair reduced to thin, patchy strands. To keep her youthful image, she wore a vast collection of wigs, curled, jeweled, and dyed flame red. But wigs in Tudor England were filthy. They were made of human hair or horsehair stitched onto caps that soaked up sweat and oil. Worse, they were crawling with lice, fleas, and sometimes even maggots. Elizabeth's servants powdered them heavily with crushed herbs and scented powders, but no amount of perfume could mask the infestation. Ladies-in-waiting often had to pick lice eggs from the seams of her wigs. Beneath her royal crown was not a halo of fiery hair, but a nest of crawling vermin. 6. Her dresses were never washed. Elizabeth's gowns were works of art, encrusted with jewels, pearls, gold thread, and intricate embroidery. But they were nearly impossible to clean. Soap was primitive. Laundries were harsh, and delicate fabrics like silk and velvet would be ruined by washing. So Elizabeth simply didn't wash them. Instead, her servants stuffed her gowns with dried lavender, rose petals, or herbs, and sprayed them with perfumes. The dresses were never properly cleaned of sweat, food stains, or bodily smells. Imagine banquet after banquet, days of dancing, hours of hot court ceremonies, all seeping into the same gown. Over time, these beautiful garments became like rotten sponges holding years of filth. Elizabeth's palaces were not glamorous paradises. They were cesspits. There were no proper sewage systems, so waste was dumped out of windows into courtyards or nearby ditches. Latrines overflowed. Chamber pots were emptied onto staircases. Human excrement sometimes leaked into the walls and cellars. Visitors often described the stench as unbearable. Rats thrived, fleas spread diseases, and the floors were sticky with urine and filth. Elizabeth moved constantly from palace to palace, not because she enjoyed variety, but because each residence quickly became so foul that it was unlivable. For she shared bed sheets infested with bugs. Elizabeth traveled with her own bedding, but her sheets were only changed on rare occasions. Mattresses were stuffed with straw and feathers, which quickly became breeding grounds for fleas, lice, and mites. Foreign guests often complained about being bitten all night long while staying in royal residences. And the Queen herself wasn't immune. She may have been the most powerful woman in Europe, but she still woke up scratching bites from bed bugs and itching lice crawling through her sheets. Her ladies sometimes beat the mattresses with sticks before she slept to try to drive the insects out, but the bugs always came back. 3. Her teeth had to be yanked out without anesthetic. Elizabeth's sugar addiction left her mouth in ruins. Her teeth weren't just black, they were loose, decayed, and infected. In her later years, the pain was unbearable. The only solution was brutal, to have them yanked out by hand. There was no anesthesia, no numbing medicine, just metal pliers and brute force. One famous extraction was so excruciating that Elizabeth screamed in agony as blood poured from her gums. It left her terrified of doctors. From then on, she refused further dental care, even as her mouth rotted. The Queen of England, unable to chew, often had her food mashed into soft pulp so she could swallow without pain. 2. Her body reeked of rotting flesh in old age. By the time Elizabeth was in her 60s, her body was breaking down. The constant layers of toxic makeup left her with sores, ulcers, and infections on her skin. Her rotting teeth leaked pus and blood. She often suffered fevers and had a hacking cough. All of this gave her a stench that courtiers whispered about, but never dared mention. One ambassador described the Queen as a woman of sweet words, but sour odor. Her chambers had to be stuffed with herbs, incense, and perfumes to disguise the smell of her decaying body. But everyone who came near her knew the truth. The Virgin Queen stank of death. 1. She literally died caked in filth and makeup. In her final days, Elizabeth refused to let anyone see her without her cosmetics. She locked herself in a dark chamber, sitting upright on cushions, caked in lead paint, wrapped in unwashed gowns, her wigs swarming with lice. She would not eat, she would not bathe, and she would not remove the mask of beauty she had built for decades. When she finally died in 1603, attendants found her body in a horrifying state. Her skin had been eaten raw by lead, her mouth a ruin of black stumps, her gown stiff with sweat and perfume. The great Virgin Queen of England, the image of power and majesty, had literally rotted away beneath her jewels.